Hi everyone, welcome back to 90 Degree Turns. I'm your host, Trisha Margus. Today we have the awesome pleasure of speaking with Fabio Santos. He is the creator of Espiritualidade Independente on YouTube. And as well, he is the event coordinator and creator of Experience 2020, which is a consciousness event that will be being held in September 2020 in Florianopolis in Brazil. So, hello, Fabio. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. And you? The pleasure is mine.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you. I'm really excited for this little series. So, we're just going to talk about all different topics of consciousness and awakening because your event is all about that, right?
It is. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to talk about different perspectives from other cultures besides, I was born in Brazil, so I can talk about Latin America, Brazil, and how we grew up there with a lot of spirituality content. And we can talk about North America and some other parts of the world and how we are in the same planet. And so we have to think as one.
Absolutely. So let's kind of get started with our audience. Let's talk about what is consciousness for you. I mean, you grew up in South America. You were born there. I grew up in North America here, and I feel like these topics kind of transcend what it means to just even be from a certain nationality or from a certain country. It's more than just being human. It's something way more than what we can kind of almost encompass in words. But what does consciousness mean to you?
Perfect. Well, I was born in Brazil, and now I live in Canada. So I live in North America, and I know you spent a couple of months in Brazil as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit. It's hard to define what is conscious, but I think it's better to try to give an example or try to make people feel what is conscious. So I think the best way to describe is contact with nature. When I am outside or on a waterfall or beside a river or seeing animals in the wild, it's this feeling of collective conscious or feeling that I belong to something. I belong to the planet. I think that's the best way I can describe what consciousness is for me. Is I can feel connected, and when I feel connected, I try to rationalize it, not just go with the flow or with the feeling that I'm feeling at that time. But when I try to rationalize it, say, hey, there's something here, and there's something that I'm part of, and it's bigger than myself. So it's just I think consciousness is speaking from the heart, is a feeling, and we can feel that with nature.
Beautiful. I definitely can agree from my own experience that I think consciousness is, you can find it in nature. You can find it anywhere that you kind of connect to who you are, right? Whether that's making some kind of music on like a piano or a guitar, or whether it's connecting outside. I think ultimately it ends up being a connection of awareness, right? It's, like you said, something bigger than yourself. It's way more expansive than, and words don't even do it justice to understand it. But I think it's very interesting to look at how we each grow in our own consciousness, right? Like I'm sure you've had your own journey of growth and expansion that'll continue on, as will mine and everyone else who's watching this and everyone on this planet. Well, you know, every sentient being is able to grow in their own consciousness and mind, which is pretty exciting when you think about it, especially during these times.
Definitely. And when we are children, we are very curious. We ask a lot of questions, and we try to know as much as we can. And I think we lose a little bit as we grow up. We're not. There's no incentive on questioning when we grow up. The incentive is not to question everything. So we have all those answers that are ready. So when we ask something, why are you asking that? It's usually the response that we got when we are adults. So we lose that questioning. And I think the perception of consciousness, it began with me, and I think with most of the people that are watching us, with those questioning when we were children. So, who am I? I used to question myself. Who am I? What I'm doing here? Why everything exists? I had those questions in my mind. I'm not sure if you had the same ones, but I think everyone does, right?
Yes. Yes, I definitely had those experiences where I'm like, who am I, and it just, yeah, what am I doing here? What's the point of living on this earth? Because sometimes as kids you think like, wow, some of the things that are required from us are kind of strange, right? Like this whole school system is a little bit difficult to have to be in a classroom all day, right? When you rather be playing outside. Like
Yes.
it's simple little things like that, and I think the questioning aspect of us is always inside. It's just a matter of, are you going to express yourself in that way, right? Because in these times right now that we're living in, there's a lot going on, right?
Oh, definitely.
There's a lot going on, and even before all of this COVID stuff started happening, there were protests in France going on for they're still going on for 70 weeks now, called with the yellow vests. And then we had the Hong Kong protesters that were, I think there's so many people protesting in December, and now all the streets are empty, right? Like, and in South America there is constant kind of upheaval to try to battle what the system is that we're inside of right now, and trying to break down these walls and the veils. So it's
Yes.
very important to question, because
Yes, definitely.
why these events are happening around the world.
Yeah, people start questioning again as adults. So
Mm.
that's very good. And people that are awakening right now are the people that are questioning themselves, questioning the world. Why is everything like this? Why do I have to suffer? Why do I have to have a lousy life? Why do I have to live for just paying the bills and go to work and try to make a living? Is it the reason that we are here? Well, I don't think so. So we need at least start questioning that, and I think all those protests began questioning those things. Why can't I have the basics? Why can't I have water and food and job and money? Why can't I provide to my family? So basic things for human to have a healthy life,
Mm-hmm.
as we all deserve. So we are more than 7 billion people on the planet, and I don't think the majority has this kind of level with a job or water and food. We know that they don't. So people start questioning, and more than questioning, they went out on the streets and demand to have those quality of life, because they were seeing that the rulers they have those quality of life. So why do you have that kind of life? Why can't I have the same? So that's a really nice movement, a global movement that happened. I think we can say it started maybe the first one, the major one in 2011 with the Arab Spring, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the term here in English, but that started in Libya and then Egypt, and then so it was just amazing. I know that I was there, right? I was in Cairo in Egypt just a week after they went on the streets,
Wow.
and I spent a week there. And when I left, they went back on the streets.
Oh.
So
A little blip, and then all they actually.
yeah, I was pretty much alone. Visit the pyramids, and well, it was not very clever of me, but everything was okay. But it was a really genuine movement. So we can debate if it ended well or not, if it really had some changes. But the changes that I'm really concerned about is the inner changes in people. If they change, if they start questioning, if they start moving ahead, not just accepting everything that comes from the government or from the media or from everyone.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I really do feel that it's finding not just any question, but it's having the right questions, right? Because if you're looking at, a lot of people do watch the news, and it's good to be informed and not absorb it, but other people really take it to heart, and there's so many different opinions and so much, it almost seems like another divide and conquer strategy,
Sure.
because there's such a wild amount of viewpoints and opinions that people don't know, like, are they going to go this way, that way? They don't know what to believe anymore, right? So finding the right questions and then kind of going down those rabbit holes, like we call them, right,
Yeah.
is where it can lead you to your truth, right? And that feeling of truth also is within your heart, which I think is such a beautiful way to understand things, because you can have the logic and the reason, that side of it, that makes sense. But then when you pair that with the feeling of, oh, does this internally feel okay? Does this sound right? That's when you have that guidance system, right? And your intuition
Yes.
can help you with it. It's
Yes.
a beautiful thing.
Well, that's the perfect system, to have the balance between the heart and the mind.
Yeah.
And I can say right now that in Latin America we have all the heart that you can imagine, but we lack a little bit of the mind. And in North America, I think it's a little bit of the opposite.
It'd probably be the direct opposite, yeah, where we're
Yeah.
very focused on logic, reason. It's almost to an excess, and then the heart's kind of shut down, right?
Yes.
It's kind of shut, yeah.
We need to find that balance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's why we're doing this collaboration in the first place, right? We want to show people that, look, yes, we both come from different backgrounds, but we can collaborate, we can talk, and we can have the whole gamut. We can have the logic, we can have the heart, and we can still be guided into the direction that feels best for humanity, right?
Yes, we need both. We need both. We need the mind and the heart. And I think people will start questioning from both sources, from the heart, that they're feeling that something's wrong.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, I'm seeing, here's the data. I'm seeing what's happening, right? Because we are programmed to behave in a certain way. And that's a fact. That's the mind. I don't need the heart to tell that we are programmed to behave in a certain way. So we have television that right.
It's very direct.
We have more than enough data to back that we are programmed to behave in a certain way. So what has changed in a couple of years, that we're still programmed, but people are starting to wake up, start questioning. Mm-hmm. So we are programmed since ever. Let's say at least since the 30s and 40s, to be fair, before that. But let's say 30s and 40s till this day. So what changed? What changed in the world that people are starting to wake up and to question? Because we're still programmed, and I think maybe in a heavier way, in a stronger way than before, but we are waking up.
Yeah,
so we have a good question here. What's going on?
That's a really interesting point. Really, yeah, what's causing this kind of mass awakening to happen? That is a very good point. What is it? I mean, because children are still programmed from a young age, and it continues on throughout adulthood, right? But yes. maybe it's I think the internet has a lot to do with it. Like, I know a lot of people bash on AI, and there are reasons to be cautious with that with technology in general. But when you look at how internet connects us, right? Like, we can now reach so many more people, whether it's someone in Asia or in Europe, or just talking and communicating. Our sources aren't just coming from the television, right? They're not just coming from the radio. It's coming from people who are actually living in those locations.
Yes.
Which is fascinating, and it brings a whole different level of the story up to the view of people.
Definitely. And everything has two sides, at least. I would say three. But everything has at least two sides. But the problem, usually with this technology that we have today, we can talk about AI and everything, but with when we are talking about Facebook or Instagram or internet, so the problem 99% of the time is not the technology or the tool. The problem is the use that you make out of it.
Exactly.
So people usually say, nowadays people are just on the smartphone and like this. So is it the smartphone's fault, or is it my fault that I don't use it properly?
Yeah.
So I hear lots of friends say, hey, I'm quitting Facebook. I can't stay Facebook anymore. It's just tragedy and people fighting over politics and everything. And I'm thinking, I don't have that problem on my Facebook, because I just exclude and delete everyone that fights over politics, or everyone that does not contribute with my knowledge or what I want to see. So the problem is not the tool itself. We can talk about Facebook and social media.
That could be another.
You're on a first step, on a first talk, we can say that we really need to learn how to use those technologies better. And of course, we are new to it. We're very new to it. We're using that for a little bit more than 10 years.
Yeah, we're like toddlers in the way we use technology. Yeah. And I completely agree that it's a tool, right? It can be neutral, and it depends on how we use it. What energy do you bring to it, right? Like that is a huge topic we could talk about, even about discernment, right? The information that you see, how do you know if it's true? Is it true? Why is certain information being blocked or excluded from the entire Facebook realm, the internet realm? Let's just call it that, because there's a lot that happens on a daily basis with algorithms. But that is going a little far into where we want to probably go today. But
we're back into questioning.
Yes. No, exactly. And actually you're right. It goes full circle into the questioning and getting into that mindset of asking the right questions.
Yes.
So I guess we could, from here, I mean, how about, can you tell us about Experience 2020 then, this event? What is your goal with Experience 2020? What is it for the viewers that haven't heard of it yet?
Okay, so I threw a question here. So what's going on with the world that everyone is awakening, right? Or not everyone, but everyone that can. That's another topic that we can talk about. Not everyone has access to that information. So to those that are watching us, 100% they have access to that information, because they know your channel. They're listening to us. So we're privileged human beings. So from that privilege, from that collective, we are awakening. So there's a lot of things happening. The information era, as you said, so the internet and everything now, we are all connected. Something happens in China, we know here the next second, and the other way around. So it's just a lot of information. I would say that it's a lot. It's more than we need, actually. But we are awakening. We are awakening because of that information era. We are awakening because of other things that are happening with our planet, outside of our planet. And I'm not just talking about metaphysics and spirituality. I'm talking about astrophysics. I'm talking about science and the place that we are in the universe. So our Milky Way is passing through a very specific place in the universe. So that's another talk that we can explore later. But we are, and not just in the information area, we are in the awakening area. We are with the time that we are living right now. It is the time of the awakening. That's our time. So that's why this is happening. And we can talk about the Mayans and 2012 and all other prophecies and things that comes to that era that we are living right now. And I'm not talking about specific dates. So I talk about the Mayans in 2012, and it was 21st of December or something.
Mm-hmm.
No,
the end of the world. Yeah.
It's that era. It's not the end of the world or some apocalypse or something that it's going to. No, it's exactly what we are living right now. We are awakening, and that process is getting faster and faster. It probably began around 2010, 2012, 2014, and it's growing exponentially. So Experience 2020, it's that event that we are doing in Florianópolis, a beautiful island in the south of Brazil. Corey Good will be there, and John Souza, Sisto Paz, and all other figures, myself included, minor addition to the event. But it's not about the event itself. The event, very curious. When me and Karina Greco, is my business partner, and she has been teaching spirituality for almost 25, 30 years. She has a lot of experience. And when we got together to think about the event that we were doing, we created the event we had the list of the speakers, and we saw the event happening in less than 1 day. And we did everything, the logo, the speakers list, and we saw the event happening. So it was like a prediction or something really, really crazy.
It just kind of all came together right away.
It was a download of a few seconds, and in less than 1 day, we saw everything happening. So, and when this COVID-19 quarantine happened, we never thought of anything like this, right? I don't think anyone thought. But the curious part is when we talk about astrology and we talk about predictions of what we are seeing happening right now, September will be a very, at least curious month of the year. When we look for astrology and energy-wise, I'm not going too deep into that, but it's going to be a very special month. Everything will be very quiet, and we are going to feel very good. The event is going to happen in the solstice, in the spring solstice, and in the southern hemisphere.
So it'll be fall here.
It will be fall here, and but there will be the very beginning of spring, and it is really a beginning of a new era, a beginning of a new time. We're going to let's put it another way, more spiritual way. We're going to shift dimensions. We're going to something will change. It's already changing, but from September on, people are just
It'll be like a catalyst.
going to feel it will be a catalyst, and the event is right in September. So, and we are doing lots of things regarding Experience 2020. It's not just an event; it's a movement. It's a new spirituality movement, if I may say. I can call a lot of things, but really, it's just a celebration of this new era. It's a celebration of the awakening process, and it has nothing to do with politics or what's happening on Earth or which party will win the election. Nothing to do with it. It has to do with consciousness. I'm not saying that one party will win or the other party will win the election. It doesn't matter. People are awakening, and Experience 2020 is a celebration of this awakening, and it's an event that marks this the beginning of this new era after all this craziness that we are living right now.
Wow. Well, that's a wonderful way that you explained it. I love that it's not focused just on the 3D, the three-dimensional kind of stuff that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Because although that seems important to many people, we have spoken about in the beginning of our talk here, this is bigger than even just the human collective. It is so much more. And that might sound silly to some who are watching this at this moment, but you'll see as time passes on right now, things are going at a very quick pace, right? Yes. Every week, you can see that rules are changing, laws are changing, people are changing the way they're behaving, right? This is only going to be expedited as the year goes on because people are asking the questions and the veil is lifting. And it's going to be really interesting to, I think, continue this series, and we can maybe dive into the astrophysics of what will be happening and the astrology of it all, because that stuff is, I am not as familiar with it, but I find it very important and interesting. It's just fascinating to see how things in astrology, right, relate to what's going on Earth and how it can affect us as human beings.
Yes. Yes. And we have to focus on the real astrology, because astrology is a science that, as hundreds of other things in our history, was manipulated to feel that it's not something important, that it's just a fool to believe in those kind of things. But it's not the astrology that you can find on a newspaper. We are not talking about that. We are talking about science. We're talking about every planet has its frequency, and how those frequencies are related to us here on Earth. And that's science. When we're talking about frequency, we are talking about waves. We're not talking about not the newspaper way of
not
signs
like the horoscope kind of science.
Horoscope. You're going to find your love. That's not what we're talking about.
This is much more deeper than that.
It's much deeper than that.
No, I think that's a great clarification there. Yeah, we're not going to be looking at what's going to be happening for Aries. Like, no, it's going to be a much more macro, expanded view of what's going on. And I love that you bring up frequencies, because that is a very true science. There have been many people, from like Robert Monroe to, I even interviewed a woman named Sherry Edwards. They're science people who deal with frequencies and understanding frequencies and how it affects us as a human. How it affects us as humans, right? And then you take that and expand it out. It is an amazing field that I think, if people aren't aware of it at this moment, it's just a matter of time.
Yes, we have so much to explore related to that, and it's important to tell people since the beginning on this first episode that we're not. Corey Good has this saying that I just love it. Well, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. He says that a lot, and I think it's just perfect. We're not talking about any politics. We're not talking about any gurus. We're not talking about any prophecies. We're not talking about any saviors from any religion or for any planet or for any star system or anything that you might see out there. Mm-hmm. We're talking about us, human to human. So we are the ones to change history. We are the ones to do something in any dimension. 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, it doesn't matter. We exist from this dimension to the source, or God, or you can call anything that you want. We manifest in all those dimensions. So we can do something on the third dimension up to the source. So let's do it. We just have, the first step is questioning.
Yes, absolutely. Well, wonderful. Fabio, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on to this episode 1. Everyone, check out Fabio Santos' channel. It is once again called Espiritualidade Independente on YouTube, right? And where else can we find you, Fabio?
Well, I'm on Facebook, same name, Espiritualidade Independente, and in Portuguese. I have Ascension Wisdom in English, but my English channel is just shy. But I promise that I'll create more content in English. I'm also on Instagram with the same name, Espiritualidade Independente.
Great. Wonderful, Fabio. Well, thanks again for coming on for this first episode here. We're going to definitely create more together. So I hope you have a wonderful evening, and thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.